Get those wonderful toys. I can't wait to show you my toys.
Hey guys, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at the DC Multiverse Mattel spoiler figure. This figure is a Walmart exclusive. It is one of two Walmart exclusives. The other one is a Harley Quinn. Both of these figures are part of the Super Luthor wave. He's a Collect and Connect figure. As you can see on the front of the package here, we've got comic design of spoiler, the actual figure in here. She comes with one real accessory, some kind of nunchuck type thing. And then she has the Lex Luthor. I think this is a variant head. Side we have comic art. This is the rebirth version of the spoiler. The back you see the Super Luthor, Collect and Connect. We've got two Walmart figures that both come with a piece of him. Bunch of other figures. I'm interested in Gotham by Gaslight. I pretty much collect Batman related figures. Other side we got the same comic art. Bottom just a bunch of useless junk. Top nothing useful. Now I really am looking forward to this figure. I've been a fan of spoiler since she first came out in the 90s. It may have even been the late 80s. Of course, in the late 80s I was a very small child, so I wasn't really aware of these things, but I have her first appearance. I read it. I've made custom spoiler figures. Absolutely love this. I have the, Batman Reborn Batgirl figure. That's Stephanie Brown in her Batgirl costume. This is the first time they've ever made spoiler. I'm super excited to add this to my Mattel Batman family. Let's get her open and check her out. Alright, so here's the figure out of the package. Like I said before, she only has two accessories. One's a Luthor head, which I will probably end up throwing on eBay, as I'm not going to pursue building the Super Luthor for my collection that's mainly centered around Batman related characters. And then she has this sort of nunchuck staff-like thing, which really means absolutely nothing to me. I don't believe it to be a specific accessory to hers. I've read a lot of the Rebirth comics, at least the first 20 or so of them, and I don't recall her ever using something like this. That will probably go to my Ra's al Ghul gang or some other generic thug, and I will find my own accessories for her. Now, I normally buy two of every figure. I only bought one of this figure because I read on the Fwoosh forums that somebody found them, and so I went out to my local Walmarts, checked them out, absolutely nothing there. So I messaged the guy, and he picked one up for me and sent it to me. I really wanted this figure really bad loose. I absolutely love when they make first time in figure form new characters. This is not exactly that, for they made Stephanie Brown in her Batgirl outfit, but I'm much more excited to have her in her spoiler gear. Completely new Bat Ally to add to the ranks, which pleases me greatly. So I had to get one ASAP. Guy bought one for me, 18 bucks at Walmart, sent it to me. It was a little less than $30 shipped. Very happy to pay that little extra. I will get my second one in the near future. But really excited to have this figure. Cannot tell you how stoked I am, waiting for this for so long. Her nunchuck thing is sort of a bendable plastic. Can move pretty much no problem, but I do feel like if you do that a whole bunch, it will end up breaking. When you put it in her hands, I did find it kind of annoying that you had to bend these for her to hold it properly. Not super thrilled about that. Like I said, these really don't mean anything to me for her. They will not stay for her. They're going to go to somebody else, kind of get thrown to the side. Now, ever since the old days, I always kind of wanted to have an unmasked spoiler as well. So I do have this figure that I've been sort of holding aside for this purpose. I use her for Bruce Wayne's secretary. She kind of has a little office below Bruce Wayne's office. The body is Felicity Snoke from Arrow. I bought two of those, one to keep as is and one for this purpose. And the head, I think, is some kind of Marvel Legends figure. I don't know who. I'm going to try to put that head on here real quick and see if it looks like a good unmasked Stephanie Brown with a spoiler head. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Let's check this out real quick. Went ahead and heated up those figures, did the swap. It looks okay. The head kind of sinks a little bit too far down. It's not all the way down right now, and her hair kind of makes it difficult. I could work on it, make it a little better. I wanted to have an option to be able to swap out with the current head, or possibly make a Stephanie Brown in a civilian attire. This may be the head I use for that. who knows? I've been wanting to do this for quite a long time, though. So I would say her accessories are pretty much garbage. I don't like the nunchuck type thing, and the Luthor head doesn't do anything for me either. I will try to provide my own, but let's look at the actual figure and her articulation. So the head moves around pretty nicely, up and down. It's very limited by her hood, which I'm very glad she has. Shoulders. This is the newer Multiverse body. I've seen some people complain that she's on the old body, but this is very similar to the Batwoman type. I will pull her out and compare after we look at the articulation. Shoulders, kind of new style. They come out all the way very nicely. The top of the bicep here, we've got a swivel, goes all the way around. Her elbow, not double jointed, but it goes completely 90 degrees, which is nice. Her wrist goes up, down. That one seems to be a little bit stuck. I might play with that one around. You can see it is hinged as well. Exact same thing on the other side. I'll have to work on that wrist. I don't really want to mess with it on screen right now. Same articulation on the other side. Once again, the new sort of shoulder and female articulation style. She's got not really an ab crunch, but I guess it's an ab crunch. It's very hidden very nicely though. She's got this soft rubber type thing that's not really hindering the movement too much. Then the waist does move and moves very nicely. Hips come out. The joint is hidden here. I don't see it like in the traditional DC Universe Classics figures. Goes up this far, out that far, back absolutely not at all. She's got a thigh swivel. Knees not double jointed, which is disappointing, but still so thankful to have this figure. And then the legs up and down very nicely, and what's that? They rock a little bit. Nice. Kind of ankle rockers. New Multiverse articulation scheme. Well, let's see how tall she is, then we'll compare her to the newer Batwoman figure, and then compare her to a few older figures as well. So it looks like she's a hair under 6 inches, which is pretty appropriate compared to some other figures. We will look at their height comparisons here shortly. Before I pull out the Batwoman figure, I pulled out a Rebirth comic figure just to get a good look at how accurate she is, and I think she looks pretty nice. She looks very similar to the... Everything's the same, except the picture in Detective Comics number 934 does not have that sash or whatnot across her chest that Spoiler Sword is always famous for having. But she looks really good, really accurate. Absolutely love that aspect of her. Now I pulled out the Batwoman figure. Quite a bit taller, but Batwoman is a full adult, where Stephanie Brown is supposed to be younger, a teenager or whatnot. Very similar articulation on the arms. Batwoman actually doesn't have the bicep swivel, which is pretty interesting. She does have double jointed knees. Legs are done differently. Stephanie Brown is sort of done with the older style, at least it looks like for the front, but she has the joint hidden on the side, which is nice. Batwoman is on the complete newer style of sort of crotch and hip area. I'm personally very excited to work on completing the Detective Comics Rebirth Detective, Batman team called Team Detective. There's already Batman, Clayface, Batwoman, Spoiler. I'm really excited to get the upcoming Red Robin that they showed us. Maybe eventually they will give us an Orphan as well, and that was some of the team. We had Batwing in recent history for the extended family of the team, and a long time ago they did Azrael, and they may do another one in the future. I have the older Cassandra as Batgirl from DC Superheroes days. Doesn't look like Orphan, but is a fill-in for the moment. Cannot wait to finish the team. I do think they will eventually give us the last one, which is Orphan. I don't see why they wouldn't. Now, like I said, I have been waiting for this figure for years. Always been a big fan of Spoiler. I don't really know why. It's because she had this really unique look to her. Didn't look like a Bat ally. She sort of came out of nowhere. At first you couldn't tell if she was a male or female. I think that was sort of the appeal of her. Not the appeal, but the sort of the mystery of her. Her face was completely blank. Couldn't really tell. So when I was many years ago, my first custom figure I ever made was a spoiler based off the old comic look. Took an old Justice League Huntress figure, put a cape on top. I know it's absolutely horrible, but it was my first time messing around. It's always sort of kept a special place in my heart, and I've kept it. Eventually, I did make another spoiler figure. Let me show you the comic that this is based off of. Boy, that took longer than I thought it would. This is from her first appearance, Detective Comics number 647. This is how she's looked in that book in her first, 10 or so years. I made a custom off that many years later, and was always very pleased with it, but was always afraid to play with it as it was sculpted and painted. Finally, I have one I can sort of play and pose carefree. Now there's also the Batman Reborn figure they made many years ago when she took over as Batgirl. I believe that was in the New 52. No, that was pre-New 52. New 52 ended up being Barbara Gordon. So they have made her in 6 to 7 inch figure form, and I've always sort of used this as my spoiler figure, but been sort of unhappy because of my brain. I know it's Batgirl. Finally, spoiler. Super stoked. I suggest everyone keep an eye out for this figure. Walmart exclusive. I believe that they come in a box of 8 with 4 Harley Quinns and 4 spoilers. They should not be hard to find once they start hitting all across the country. They've not hit my area in the Midwest yet, but they have hit out west big time. So I mentioned finding different accessories to use with this figure. I nominated these two. It's a purple batarang and a purple grapnel from the 7-inch NECA video game version of the 1989 Batman figure. These will probably go ahead and go to spoiler. And here she is with a more traditional black batarang and a black staff that I took from, a Huntress or a Robin figure for my Bat Armory. Going ahead and providing my new accessories since I didn't like what she came with, and more character appropriate or Bat specific than those nunchuck things. Here she is next to a modern Batman, Robin, and Batgirl figure. You can see she's pretty much the same height as the Batgirl, done a different body though, and the Batman is quite a bit taller. I've wanted to put this spoiler with Tim Drake for a really long time. It is the wrong version of spoiler, and that Tim Drake is not exactly the perfect version they could have made. I mean, it's the perfect version, but they didn't do a good job of executing it. Just absolutely love it. Stephanie Brown, Tim Drake. It's been so long that I've been wanting to put those together. Mattel figures. Here she is pictured with the more appropriate Rebirth team. You can see Batman once again is quite a bit taller than her, which is perfect. Batgirl though, I've never really liked this figure that much. She just seemed a little bit bigger than she should have been. I think she's definitely older than Damian, so I guess that's right, but her head just seems kind of big looking compared to Spoiler. And these figures all look kind of cartoonish compared to the previous ones I showed you. And Damian is quite a bit shorter, which is definitely appropriate. I do love that they're making a bunch of these figures. This Damian I think was more of a New 52 figure, but he works perfect for the Rebirth figures as well. I love having the same consistent style of Mattel DCUC Classics and Multiverse figures when displaying them together. I do love the DC Collectibles figures, but sometimes they don't mesh in well with these. They're quite a bit taller. Love gathering the Rebirth Bat family team. Here is the Team Detective Rebirth team. All the Mattel versions. We've got Rebirth Batman, Batwoman. Then we've got the only Mattel Red Robin they've ever made, which is 2 costumes behind at this point. Then you got Spoiler on the side, Clayface in the back, and then on the far right we've got what I use for Orphan. It's the Cassandra Cain Batgirl. Once again, she's had a couple costumes since then as well. Here I am adding the Mattel Batwing and Mattel Azrael figure. I do think eventually they will give us an Orphan figure to round out the team. They've already shown they're going to make us a Red Robin figure. An Azrael figure also would be sort of nice to replace this older one, although I do very much still enjoy that figure. All in all, I would highly recommend this figure. Super excited to get another Bat ally to add to the mix. I was really excited when they made Batwing and Duke Thomas. Keep bringing them. I want Orphan next. If you're on the fence about this figure, getting it, it's only $18 at Walmart. If you see it, get it. I think they're going to be plentiful in the long run. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. If you're worried about it not fitting scale-wise with the rest of your collection, I will say that I've read reports that the Harley Quinn is a little bit bigger than the spoiler and almost out of scale, and that is sort of true. She's kind of made on the new, very new buck, which is a little bit bigger, and this one is sort of an amalgam of older parts and newer parts mixed together. At least that's what I've seemed to be seeing. Highly recommend it. I love it. It fits in great with the rest of the figures, in my opinion. So happy they finally made a Stephanie Brown in the spoiler gear. Been wanting this for well over 10 years, probably for 20 years since I was a kid. So happy we finally got it. Love it. If you like this video, press like. If you want to see some more of them, hit subscribe. Talk to you guys soon.